Welcome to BrewFix, where coffee meets craftsmanship. And one of the most counterintuitive ideas in espresso brewing is that many shots that taste bad do not actually fail at the beginning of the extraction, but instead fail toward the end, long after the espresso already appears to be flowing properly. Because while baristas often focus intensely on the first drops of coffee and whether the shot starts evenly, the chemistry of extraction continues evolving throughout the entire brew, and the later stage of the shot is where balance can quietly collapse without anyone noticing. When hot pressurized water first enters the coffee puck, it begins dissolving the most soluble compounds from the coffee particles, typically bright acids and aromatic molecules that contribute liveliness and complexity to the flavor profile. And this early stage of extraction is often visually satisfying because the espresso flows smoothly and crema forms beautifully on top of the shot, giving the impression that everything is working correctly. But as water continues passing through the puck, it begins extracting progressively less soluble compounds, including heavier bitters, plant fibers, and astringent molecules that can quickly overwhelm the balance of the drink if the extraction continues for too long. The challenge is that espresso machines operate under constant pressure, meaning the water does not suddenly stop extracting flavor compounds once the desirable ones have dissolved, and instead, the extraction chemistry gradually shifts toward these harsher compounds near the end of the shot, which is why many espresso shots that initially taste balanced suddenly develop bitterness, dryness, or a rough aftertaste in the final seconds. Another reason this late-stage failure happens is that the physical structure of the coffee puck begins to break down during extraction. Because as water dissolves solids from the coffee particles, the puck becomes more porous and fragile, allowing new pathways for water to form inside the bed. And these pathways often develop into channels that accelerate flow through certain areas while bypassing others, causing uneven extraction that pulls bitter compounds more aggressively from parts of the puck that are now exposed to higher water flow. This phenomenon becomes especially noticeable when shots run slightly longer than intended, because those extra few seconds can dramatically increase the concentration of late-stage compounds in the cup, shifting the flavor balance away from sweetness and toward bitterness and astringency. Temperature and pressure stability also influence this stage of extraction because small changes in brew temperature or pump pressure can accelerate the dissolution of these heavier compounds, meaning that a machine drifting slightly out of calibration can unintentionally push the shot beyond the optimal extraction window without the barista realizing it. What makes this process deceptive is that visually the espresso may still look beautiful as it pours into the cup, with crema forming and the stream appearing smooth, yet the chemical balance of the drink has already moved beyond the point where sweetness and acidity are dominant, which is why experienced baristas often stop the shot slightly earlier than beginners expect in order to capture the portion of the extraction where flavors are most balanced. Understanding that espresso can fail at the end rather than the beginning changes the way we evaluate shots, because instead of assuming the problem occurred when the flow first started, we begin to think about how the extraction window closes over time and how a few extra seconds can tip the balance from sweet and complex to bitter and harsh. And recognizing this dynamic nature of extraction helps explain why dialing an espresso is as much about knowing when to stop the shot as it is about knowing how to start it, which is exactly the kind of coffee engineering insight we explore here at BrewFix to help baristas, coffee enthusiasts, and technicians better understand the physics and chemistry behind espresso, so they can capture the best part of every extraction rather than letting the final moments quietly ruin the cup.